And they went on, they would go on when the boat would come in on the port, and they would gather. He said the service would be about 15 minutes, the presentation would be about 15 minutes, letting the persons know that which they are doing, and they would collect funds and so. He said that it was hard work because the sun was hot. We know usually by the bayside, those of us who live close to the beach and so, it's usually hot there, not so? Yeah, so he's saying that the sun was very, very hot. And they went on consistently and constantly every year at a particular place, and they would gather and they would get those funds and bring it back. And he asked himself a question one day. Does it really worth it? He said that there was a campaign. And a campaign for souls. And they had to shut the campaign down so that they can go and gather. Think that makes sense? Church, you find that makes sense? He's talking about an evangelistic campaign whereby they were having crusades, maybe open services. And they had to shut it down so that they can go on and then gather. Maybe they saw the person's need had to be fulfilled before they can accept Christ. You know that? Yeah. Sometimes you have to feed people first before you tell them about Christ. Because a hungry man couldn't understand what they're talking about, accept Christ, but I know my belly hungry and I can't get food to it. So then he understood that he had to take care of the physical need first. So they had to shut the campaign down, gather, get some funds, and then continue. Because he understood the importance thereof. Alright? Now, what is new about Ingathering? We've been having that thing for a whole long time, not so? Yes, since I was a little boy, going to church now and again, I heard about Ingathering. And I didn't really understand it thoroughly, more than now. What is new about Ingathering? But first, before we understand what is new, we want to know what is old about Ingathering. Ingathering started almost by an accident, as an accident. It started with a gentleman named Jasper Wing. Now Jasper Wing was a little farmer where he grew his little crops and so on. He would sell. He's a church member that grew little crops and trees and he would sell. He was interested in issuing businesses, in business owners and so he was interested in businesses. And so he had ordered 50 copies of Adventist magazine that dealt with that theme, that of business. When the parcel arrived at the post office, a popular place of gathering them time day, he began handing out the magazines to people he knew. And when they came to pick it up, he asked them for a little donation. The magazines are free. He asked them for a little donation. So they gave him, now and again, and they gave him, and they gave him, and they gave him. And he said that an hour later, his papers were gone and he had collected $4 US. This amounted to about 60 US in our day. So he recognizes that that was, you know, it seemed significant and it seemed important to him. He said that he was working. But he said by mistake, another shipment of magazine came to him. And this time, 50 copies came. So he decided, well, I'm going to do the same thing and he's going to distribute the magazines again. He went on and distributed the magazines again. And he said at the conclusion of the day, he had collected 26 US, which amounted to 430 US in today's money. Wayne was so excited that he ordered 400 more magazines, amen? And distributed them using the same plan. And can you imagine what happened? Yeah. And the plan was first adopted by the church. In general, the first year campaign brought in enough money to send over 25 missionaries abroad when the plan was first adopted. 25 missionaries, Ellen White says. Ellen White says one of the new plans for reaching unbelievers is the Harvest and Gathering campaign. In many places during the past few years, this has been proved a success, bringing blessing to many and increasing the flow of means into the missionary treasury. As those not of our faith have been made acquainted with the process of the third angel's message, the progress of the third angel's message in heathen land, the sympathy have been aroused, and some have sought to learn more of the truth that has power to transform their hearts and lives. Men and women of all classes have been reached as a result of Ingathering. So when they go on and gather and persons hear about Seventh-day Adventists and what those persons are doing, they are touched by that, not so? Yes, I mean, how much other religious denomination they go about and collect funds from persons and give to the poor? How many other religious denomination? Any? Huh? The Salvation, Sister Alexis? Yeah, the Salvation does it. But on a minor scale compared to us, not so? Yes. And person will be touched by that. You know, person will be touched by persons coming and asking for funds, and you're not asking for yourself or to build up the church in itself, but to help others. The Bible tells us that we should seek other person's interest before we seek us. And that is what we are doing in the gathering campaign. Now there are 4 advantages of gathering. 4 advantages of gathering. Put them on the screen first. Brother Stu. It brings what? Blessing to those who? It brings a blessing to those who? Participate. There is a blessing when each and every one of us in gather. Do you believe that? Amen. Yes, God is pleased with his work. So there is a blessing. God would bless us as a result of doing that for him. Amen? There is a blessing in store for those of us who will participate. So if you have planned not to, then it means that you plan to miss a blessing that God has in store for you. There is a blessing, Sister Odalis. There is a blessing in store for you. And each and every one of us who would go and would seek that fund, there is a blessing in store for you. Secondly, it what? It reaches people of all levels of society. All levels. So Elatusha may be able to get to the lawyers that I may not be able to. And Sister Camilla will get to those persons like Mr. Steele and so that I would not be able to get to because of her workplace. And Brother Murray and I will get to the customs officers. All levels of life. Amen. All levels. Even the vagrant on the street. You're going to get to him too, not so? Amen. Everybody. It would reach to. Thirdly, it increases the flow of funds for the project all around the world. Now, gathering is not a Grenadian thing. It is worldwide. Amen? And it increases the flow. If we don't gather, what about, just imagine the 150 of us ahead would give $1 when the day comes to welfare. And we want to have a full distribution at the end of the month. And we give that for 4 months, that's $150. And for 4 months, whatever it is, we may get to about $500, not so? And imagine Sister Clara has to take that $500 and go yonder and purchase food to give to the community of St. Paul's. How much will she be able to accomplish? Huh? How much? About 5 people. Not much. But imagine that we would have had $5,000 to do the same. What would happen? Huh? A lot more persons would be fed. Amen? 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 So it means that a lot more persons would benefit. They would have more funds so that programs like these can benefit a lot more persons. So what you are doing is, if you're a selfish person, you can't be an gatherer. Are you understanding me? Yeah. If you're a selfish person, you cannot be an gatherer because you want to have all for yourself. But if you're not selfish and you open your doors of compassion to persons, it means that you're going to be a very effective gatherer. Let's move on. And fourthly, he said it reaches those who are not of the faith. It's an opportunity for you to evangelize. Amen? This morning I told you that you are called so you can be preachers. So it means that gathering also presents an opportunity for you to spread the gospel. Amen? Because persons must ask you what religious denomination you're from. And they must say Seventh-day Adventist. Not so? And when they ask you what you do with the funds, and they say, well, we are doing that with it. And they ask you, well, then, what is the requirement? They say, God expects us to. Huh? And then you point them to the Bible. Immediately you might have you might make a friend, or you might even win a soul for Christ. Amen? True. So it presents an opportunity for us to evangelize. Amen. That's some of the advantages of gathering. Who should do gathering? Who should do gathering? Everybody. Each and every one of us should be an active participant in an gathering. Amen. In a gathering. Sister White said, let those who have the special aptitude work for unbelievers in the high places as well as in the low places of life. Some people are better in gathering, some people are better at organizing the gathering campaign than they are at actually soliciting funds. Others do well soliciting funds in certain areas than some would in that same particular area. I had mentioned that earlier, that some persons may be more effective in a particular area than they would. Not so? If you're in a construction field, you may know Mr. Latouche and the others. I don't know Mr. Latouche, but you may have a relationship with him, not so? And so, Kellan? Yes, you may have a relationship with Mr. Latouche because you would go to him and ask him to buy some cement or some whatever it is he sells. And he will understand that you have a relationship and you may be able to reach out to him that I may not be able to. But you don't know any custom officers because that's my line of work. Not so, Brian? So we may go upstairs and talk to Mr. Granger because me and Mr. Granger have a good thing going. But you can't talk to Mr. Granger and you will not be able to reach him. So each and every one of us, wherever we are, we have a part to play. From whom should we gather that